Yeah, I always put some little some in, right? What's up? Welcome to Fred and Worship. It's James here. Today I'm interviewing Jon Ferreira. He's one of my best friends. I've had the pleasure of getting to know him. Jon, tell us about what instruments you play.
I play quite a bit of instruments, but primarily the ones I play are electric and drums, with electric being more the focus.
If you were leading worship, what would you pick up?
I think the instrument I would pick up definitely is electric. I've never seen myself an acoustic player.
Yeah.
It's just different for everyone. It's just a different,
That's right.
like, I think of every pedal, every amp, every guitar I own as something that adds something different to the way I play, and it's just my style, my own personal style. And I don't think that can be replicated by an acoustic.
Getting to acoustic guitar, I'm the same way. I feel so limited when I play acoustic guitar. And there's some guys, like our friend Joel, man, he rocks acoustic and he loves it. I am more of a band director in my persuasion of worship leading than I am the vocal director. Where do you see yourself on that sort of scale?
Spectrum. Okay,
yeah.
Well, I definitely see myself in that band director role, and I think it just comes down to the idea of music, really. And I think a part of that is understanding music, understanding where a song goes, and understanding where it flows to and where it goes, and who you're playing with, and just kind of like feeling it. Like I'll say, not everyone can do it. I'm sure if you wanted to learn it, you could, but it's not just a skill you can pick up and just go with it. You know, it's something you have to develop and continue to develop and want to develop it. You know, and I think it just comes from passion for wanting to do music and wanting to see something being done to excellence.
Right.
You know, and I think that's
I agree with that.
I think that's where the role of band director comes from, is wanting to do something out of excellence.
Well, I know, and part of that is you grew up playing like multiple instruments, right?
Yep.
I know I've been in worship teams, and I know you can vouch for this, but I've been in teams where the band, the worship pastor goes like, I need like this groove, do-ka-do-do, and they like, do-ka! That frustration got to me. Like you said, that was the motivation. There was a level of excellence that I wanted to achieve, and I know there's going to be certain people that watch this and they're gonna go, oh, well, I'm like that too. Yep. I think that's killer. It's good to know that's a viable avenue for worship.
Yep.
What are you doing right now in worship? Like, I know you're in school.
Yep.
You're in Bible college.
Yep.
And you're traveling with worship teams and helping do, like, tell us about what you're doing with
Well, for a while, I wasn't really involved in any church. Like, I was kind of just all over the place, just whatever church really needed me. So starting out this school year, I'm part of a worship team.
That's through the school, right?
That's through the school.
Okay.
And we have 3 worship teams on our school, and the worship that I requested, I got on. So currently, I'm part of his worship team, being that band director, and kind of leading that team, and trying to find our identity with really a bunch of new musicians. You know, that some are just learning to play their instruments, some are learning to play with a team that have only played with themselves before.
Right.
You know, so... And for him, it's an idea he's just stepping into the role of a worship leader, where he's been an acoustic guitar player for his entire life, but he's stepping into a role of leading worship, you know. And the idea for me is that I wanted to come in and not just say, this is my team. It's not. It's our team.
Right.
You know, it's not just him and me. It's the entirety of our team. You know, and I just wanted to come in and make his job a whole lot easier. You know, I wanted him to be able to be led by the Spirit, because that's what he's doing. He's leading our worship, and he's leading people into worship. You know, I wanted to take that pressure off of him, that he didn't feel that he had to be bogged down with understanding where the team is going and what each person is doing.
Right.
I get that we need to do everything in excellence, but you know, that's a lot of pressure for someone who is trying to lead worship,
Absolutely.
and at the same time worried about it. And that's kind of the role that I've taken with this team. And what's nice is that I get to help mold some new musicians at the same time, but at the same time I get something back in terms of, like, you know, a different style of worship leading, different a way of looking at things, different way of looking at music, because everyone looks at everything differently.
Right.
And I can totally say that every team that I've ever played with, I've gotten something back from it.
Right.
You know, so that's kind of the idea that I look for myself. You know, that I'm always learning, and I always want to keep learning. That I'm never the best, but I always want to keep striving to be as good as I can possibly be. So it's been really good.
It's been good.
Yeah.
You've enjoying it.
Been enjoying it.
That's
for
sweet.
sure.
Let's steer this back now to guitar, and we got our guitars here. I got my Strat. You got your Tele there.
I got my Tele.
Let's let's talk a bit about gear. I know that's a question that always comes up. Tell me about your gear. Tell me about maybe do you have any hints or tricks that you use every time you play? Let's go there.
In worship, it is difficult because you never know what each worship leader is, and you never know the style that they're coming at it. And you can get a total gospel feel from when we were kind of growing up in the church that we grew up in. That was more of a gospel-esque
Black
feel. Yeah,
just saying.
And really there was not a lot of room for guitar players to kind of come up into it and tap into your each person's natural ability.
Especially new guitar players who didn't have a full grasp of a guitar's real tone and how to get that, how to get a tone that would fit that genre,
Exactly. So it's a matter of first kind of developing your identity and your style of where you kind of want to go with music. When it comes to worship, I'm more into a bluesy, more free-flowing ambient setting, and I just kind of like embody an electric, a synth, a piano, a keyboard. I kind of put all that together, and I embody all of that, and I kind of put it out there. So it's once you develop that identity and you're like, this is where my area is, and this is kind of like where I'm focused. That's kind of where you can kind of start knowing what gear you want and knowing what kind of stuff you want.
I've had tons of guys that I've given lessons to who buy like an Ibanez or a Jackson and they want to play worship, and I'm like, you know what? If that's what's going to get you excited to play guitar, that's great. But if we're going to go a certain direction, we're going to have to start considering what gear. Not I want to play this guitar because it's cool. There's an idea of an identity that I want to have and a sound I want to get. And so now we have to start honing in on what gear is going to get us there.
Yep. Kind of the first place you want to start off is obviously a guitar, and then next to an amp, and kind of go on from there. And a guitar is, I think, an important aspect of, where you want to go. And I know a lot of people are not going to understand any of this. It's probably going to be like Hebrew to a lot of people. But picking a guitar is actually like kind of, picking a name for your child.
Yeah, it is a big deal. You started off playing a Les Paul. I remember back in the day, playing at church, you had your red Les Paul, and that was John. Every time you saw John, you thought of a red Les Paul. Every time you saw me, you thought of red bongos.
Yep.
I mean, that was
us.
That was straight up the way it was. Since then, I don't even know if you own a Les Paul anymore.
I don't. No. I actually own 3 Fenders. I own a Strat and 2 Tellys.
Yeah, you've really gone from a mahogany body, humbucker, thick, chunky tone to the absolute other extreme.
Yeah. And again, it comes down to once you figure out your style, you kind of know what kind of guitars you want. And like I said, for me, mine is more bluesy, more ambient, and more, warm. That's kind of why I kind of went more towards Fender. Not that I don't like Gibson. I do like Gibson. I do like some of their stuff. It's not just about picking up a brand and saying, all right, this is what I want. It's about you take a guitar, you play it, and you're like, this just feels right.
This is not a paid advertisement.
No, not for Fender.
Not for Fender.
Not at all.
No.
It could be any guitar. I own a PRS as well, and you know what? That guitar for me, even though it's got bats on the, inlays, honestly, that guitar just felt right for me.
Okay, here's a good question for you. Tube versus solid state amps.
Well, I played a solid state for a long time, and
as did I, because we were poor.
Right. Because we were poor.
Because we had to.
And, nothing against solid state. It is a solid.
It is what it is.
Amp.
Nice.
It's just what it is. It does the job. It gets it done. But in all honesty, you look at a solid state amp like blinders. Almost, you can only see straight down. And you can't really look at the view around you. And a tube amp will honestly give you that view, and you'll be able to kind of remove the blinders and see everything around you. And that's the nice thing about tube amps, in which, they're definitely more expensive.
Yeah.
It will break the bank a bit from time to time, depends on what you want. But bigger is not always better, in my opinion. It kind of depends on what you're doing. And if you mic it properly, you mic it the right way,